All right. Looks like we're connected here. For those of you joining, it is Tuesday. So obviously we had Tom Schnell right before Cheri, but Cheri, how are you, Cheri? How are things for you today?
Things are looking, I think, a little bit brighter this week, and we're starting to get some relief. So I think that that's going to be good for everyone.
Good. Yeah, I know here locally we had some good announcements yesterday that looks like we have successfully flattened the curve or getting close to flattening the curve. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to look. Obviously, there's that weird, funky, like 2 week number that still sort of is a moving shift. But yeah, I mean, can you tell us about statewide versus local, how we're doing, from a statewide level too?
Yeah, I totally can. Let me look up my numbers here for my local numbers, and I'll have those. Okay, so today, as of today in Oregon, sorry, I'm looking away from you guys.
That's okay.
My computer's over here. We have 1,633 positive cases and 30,730 negative cases. Total tested is 32,363. I didn't add that math, so I hope it adds up. I'm just reading it off the chart. And then, unfortunately, we have had 55 deaths in our state.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is why we are all staying home and staying safe, to keep that number as low as possible. And that is the most important thing that we can do to prevent deaths from this virus at this time. So, again, 1,633 cases. I believe that's a little bit over 50 from the day before. So we really are plateauing, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
flattening the curve. We haven't seen a tremendous spike or increase in the last week or so. We've been seeing anywhere from 30 to 80 new cases a day across the state. And so what that means is a little under around 4-ish%, give or take, every day of increase. And so I think that that really is very important, because what you see is when you start getting the larger increases on a daily basis, that's when your curve goes way up.
Mm-hmm.
And so our curve is not, we are successfully flattening the curve. But the important part of successfully flattening the curve is how do we get out of this without having a spike that we've already prevented. So that is where we need to be cautious and make sure that we don't spike where we have already worked so hard to prevent. And then our local numbers, which I'll give you those as well. We have 34 positive cases right now in St. Charles, 4 inpatients. So that number is significantly down. I believe over the weekend it was, if not the weekend, it was Friday, I believe it was 10. So that is a really great number to see go down. And in Central Oregon, we have 55 positive cases. We have had 925 test results and 134 pending results. So the real important thing, I think, is that in Central Oregon, we're doing even better than the state. So we have seen a decline in positive cases, which the state is more plateauing. So that's really great news. It's not a big decline, and it's only a 1-day decline. So don't put a lot of stock into it because it's just a daily number. But as an indicator, I think that means that we're doing a good job. So you guys are all doing a great job, staying home, staying safe, being cautious of staying 6 feet away from people when you're getting essential services. And it is showing in the numbers. So that is very, very good news. The other thing that I think we need to think about is testing. In order to start moving forward, we have to start testing more people so that we know where we are more as an overall population. And so as a state, Oregon Health Authority has said we need to have at least 1,500 to 1,500 tests around each day, and that equates to about 15,000 a week. And in Central Oregon, we need to be increasing our numbers as well to make sure that our population is being, that we know where our population is, and where we are on our curve. And so I think that's important that it's been something that I've been working on since the very beginning, is trying to increase testing supplies. And we've been working on trying to get up drive-through testing since the very beginning of this, but the testing supplies didn't allow us to do that. And so that is coming in the future in our area and through St. Charles. So look to them for when that's the more advanced testing will be coming. Mm-hmm. I think also one of the things that we need to start looking at is some IgG testing. So that means if you've had it, then you can show that you've had it. I think that is going to be key. That's what you saw in South Korea when they got to get the economy started back up, is by having people tested to see if they've had the disease. And so that's going to be a key factor in how we move forward. And so I've been in contact with a number of people to figure out how they're figuring out how to put some of that stuff in place. And so that will be determined, I believe, in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I know that the governor had a news press conference a little while ago. I know you probably have talked about a few of the things that you're hoping that we can do. Is there anything else you would add about, from a legislative standpoint, that you're hoping to sort of get us back, going, maybe producing some incomes and producing some revenue? But obviously there's some key indicators that we need to hit before we do that. So yeah.
The things the governor is talking about are a decline in growth rate of active cases. That's one of the indicators that she wants to see. Space for hospital surge capacity, not only regionally, but statewide. And so if that capacity is available in our regional area as well as statewide before we move forward. And I think with the declining cases, that is looking positive for Central Oregon. But again, we still need to stay home and stay safe, because if we have increases, then we don't get to move forward. Mm-hmm. So I can't say that enough. If we want to, start moving forward and keeping our curve declining, it's still going to take a lot of work by all of us in Central Oregon, and we need to stay home and save lives.
Right.
And I think I try and say that as many times as I can, so that people hear me say that. They also want a robust isolation strategy, which includes testing to make sure people that may not be symptomatic can get tested and be able to be put in quarantine. And so that is going to be what they're looking for from the governor's perspective, and input from industry groups on how to reopen and what would be most effective, and how we socially distance, and what kind of procedures that looks like for all the industries that have been closed down. I think that again speaks to a topic that we've talked a lot about, Matt, which is PPE, which is very, very important in how we get out of this. Mm-hmm. We've got to make sure that we have enough PPE for our dental offices, for elective surgeries, which elective surgeries, are not necessarily what we would all consider elective.
Right.
So I think cancer surgery is something that should never be considered elective. I don't know if you can opt out of that. I don't think that's a possibility. And so I think we should really be looking at that first and foremost as to what we're going to define elective surgeries as, and can we broaden that topic. We've also talked about making sure there's PPE for long-term care facilities, because they were not deemed as essential, so they were not getting some of the stockpiles of PPE. And I think as we see what's happening with long-term care facilities, it is of the most imperative, thing that we get them PPE so they can protect themselves and protect their residents, because we have seen a lot of fatalities across our nation inside of long-term care facilities. And it is really, really important that we're protecting our elderly, and we're protecting our first responders inside of those long-term care facilities. So it is one of my hopes that we can immediately prioritize PPE for our long-term care facilities.
Do you mentioned the essential surgeries? What Do you know off the top of? I'm just curious what is considered essential right now more than anything else. I'm sure there's probably sort of an exhaustive list that some people would look at and say that's not essential, and other people would. Is there anything you can do to encourage people that are like these we're getting there? I guess I'm just trying to. I guess I'm grasping at straws because I'm hoping that for hope. I guess more than anything else.
I think it's important that we work with our local hospital officials and our local surgery centers to really make sure that definition is robust enough. And what does that look like as a step down definition? I think that's really going to be important in the future. And so, what do they want it to look like? And so, that's something that I am working with our local officials on to see if we can help shape that policy to make sure that it meets the needs of Central Oregon. Because one thing is that I don't think a lot of people realize is that we have a lot of surgeries in our area. We serve a lot of Eastern Oregon
Mm-hmm.
because we're one of the largest hospitals, if not the largest hospital on the east side of the Cascades. And a lot of people come all the way from Harney County to have surgery here. So it's really important that we're meeting the needs of all of our rural Oregonians, but we have to do it in a safe way. And so getting the definition, I wouldn't want to give you a definition. I'd want to refer you to, our hospitals and our surgery centers to tell you what they can do and what they're comfortable with would
Mm-hmm.
be, I think, a better route to go.
Yeah.
But right now, the definition doesn't include actual surgeries. It's if you can go 3 months without it impacting your health,
Mm.
is how it goes. And so I think that definition is pretty vague. And so, how can we look at changing that for the future so that we can start looking at how we meet people's needs? Because if you haven't had surgery, if you needed a hip replacement at the beginning of this, how much pain are you in, and how do we manage your pain in a safe way over time? And so that's a real concern and a real question that I think we need to figure out as a state as to what are the metrics that we're going to require to allow different regions to be able to perform some of those surgeries that are elective but may be causing so much pain that they're really impacting people's lives.
Yeah. So another situation or another thing that we talked about before we came on the air. Not unemployed. Well, unemployed, self-employed individuals. I think there's a bit of confusion, and I'm sure it probably was because of how everything came out so quickly.
Mhm.
Um, let's just, I guess, just from a state level and what if you are self-employed, should you be filing or should you not be filing right now?
You really should wait because of the backflow that we talked about. We have 2 years worth of unemployment claims filed in 3 weeks. And so that is leading to this tremendous surge where people are not getting benefits from, um, over a month at this point for some people. And so that is really putting a lot of stress on our families, and it's, anxiety and making sure that we have food resources. I've been trying to get out a lot of, I've been doing a lot of calls this week on helping people get rental assistance and food assistance through Neighbor Impact, and trying to make sure that people have access to resources so that people know where to go to get help. Because of the stress on the system and the backlog, it is really starting to cause a lot of stress. This week, I think you're going to see a lot more people come through and get their benefits. They're processing about 8,000 claims a day at this point. And so we've hired up. There were 100 people, and now they hired 400 people, and they're still looking at hiring some more to make sure that people get their income. So I know that this is really, really tough, but just if you have filed for unemployment and you have a confirmation number and you are able to click in every week and confirm that you are not working, then your claim is still being processed. And unfortunately, the best advice that I can give is to just hold tight and then contact my office and let me know if there's anything that I can do to help support you with rent or food assistance or anything that your family needs at the moment, because it's coming. It's just, we all wish that it was faster. And
Hmm.
so that's the really, really tough news of reality of the spot that we're in. And then on the 20th, the unemployment department will be opening it up for independent contractors to start applying for that $600 a week. And so that is going to be very helpful for a lot of people that normally wouldn't have qualified. But if people start applying now, it's just going to delay the claims further because they can't take those applications until the 20th. And if that date changes, I will keep you notified. Some people will be getting there's rumors that I'm waiting to hear someone confirm that by the end of the week that they will be getting some $600 checks out to people who have existing claims.
Mm-hmm.
And so that will be really, really helpful. I also, since we've been on this call, I did receive some really super exciting news that our stimulus checks are starting to arrive.
Ah, okay.
And that will really help everybody while we are waiting for those unemployment claims to come through. So I feel like the help is coming. It's just not coming as fast as any of you need and as fast as I wish I could help get it to you. So stimulus checks are arriving, and I got a text from someone that says theirs is pending for tomorrow. So when it's checks, it means that you should look into your account that you filed your taxes with last year, because they're not actually checks. They're going to directly deposit it into your bank account that you got your tax return in last year if you received a tax return.
Mm-hmm.
So you can check into your account and you could have the stimulus check in there. It sounds like as soon as tomorrow. And those will start, coming through as more of a trickle. Some people will get them every day, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll just keep going every day, more and more. But hopefully we get some of those checks out to people who are waiting for their unemployment, because I know that they are really in desperate need of money.
Right. So I want to clear something up just so I can make sure that, because I keep getting, I've had some people ask this question, and I just need to make sure that I understand, which I believe I understand, but I want to make sure I'm doing it right. Yeah. If you are self-employed, meaning you own a business, you are a self-employed business owner, but do not pay into, I guess I'm just trying to figure out, okay, where is that self-employed versus business owner? Where is that? When do you file? I guess more than anything else, I'm thinking that if you're self-employed, you're an independent contractor, you're pretty much waiting till the 20th is pretty much what
Yeah.
you're doing. And so, as a small business owner, if you are paying your employees could be filing, but you, as the business owner,
Mm-hmm.
technically have to wait till the 20th. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I believe that's accurate.
Okay.
So I think that, you know, hairstylists, construction contractors, that's when you apply on the 20th.
Okay. Okay. And I think there's probably
Realtors is another big sector for that
right.
population as well, for independent contractors.
Right. Yeah.
So I'd say hairstylists, nail technicians, any of those types of businesses, construction where you're an independent contractor, plumbers, electricians,
Mm-hmm.
anyone that has independent business
Right.
is going to apply on the 20th
Okay.
would be the day that you would get the money.
Yeah. And again, if something changes, we will. Sherry and I will talk on Friday, and we'll make sure that we update you. Legislatively, is there anything coming down the pipe, Cheri, that you think we need to know about, that you want to share, just so that we can make sure that we're getting you whatever information you need from us as your constituents, I guess?
Yeah, legislatively, I got a call on Wednesday that I'm setting up with providers that work with our unhoused population, our homeless folks, to make sure that we are getting the support that they need legislatively, because I think this crisis is going to hit our homeless providers as well as our homeless people very hard, because it's the nature of it is social distancing and having access to facilities to wash hands. And so I want to make sure that as we move into a short session at some point in the future, that I have the needs that they want, so that I can make sure that we are able to meet those needs. Because I think it's really, really important that we make sure that we are taking care of everyone through the crisis.
Yeah, good. Okay, great. Thank you. Anything else you want to add? Obviously, this is a opportunity to, we're in a different time now than we were obviously when we first started this conversations, which I'm sort of glad, but at the same time, we're also in a more precarious position. So, is there anything you wanted to add at this point in time?
Yeah, I think it's just that we know that, everyone has done their part. And as we continue to go through this journey together, that we still need to stay home and stay safe, so that we can start to, piece by piece move our economy forward. But if we don't stay home and stay safe while we're doing it, then we could take a chance of going backwards and having a surge. And we want to make sure that we're protecting our first responders, and that we're protecting all of our citizens, especially our elderly folks, and that we are doing our job. So I think it's time to be proud of Central Oregonians for doing such a good job, but also it's time to continue to work together so that we can keep fighting this. And I think wearing the masks, the homemade masks, so that we're keeping the, N95 respirators in the hands of our first responders is working and helping. And I think we need to continue to do our safe practices and look regionally to what we can do and what it looks like here to be able to start moving forward. And so, but doing that with caution so that we don't go backwards. And so I think that's really important. So I'm proud of everyone out there for their work. And I would also say to everyone that is filing for unemployment and has reached out, thank you for reaching out to me. And I have been contacting the unemployment department to make sure that I can get help with any claims processing that I can. And know that I'm trying to get those figured out for everybody. But we are, hopefully going to be seeing some of these payments from a state level this week come out, a lot more of them. And from a federal level, the stimulus checks and hopefully the $600 checks, at least by next week, if not the end of this week. And so I think there's hope. Just, breathe. If it's becoming overwhelming, make sure to reach out to our resources. There are people to help you, with counseling and support, and know that you're not alone. Everyone is going through a new normal, and we're all in this together.
Yeah, we are, and that is a good point. I mean, we really are all in this together, and we're all going to get through this together.
Yep.
I mean, it's definitely not going to change tomorrow. It's definitely going to change, in the next week per se. But we are going to get through this, and as a nation, we are a strong country, and we will get out the other side. And I think we'll definitely be coming together as a community on that other side too. Hey, Cheri, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thanks, Matt.
Yes.
It was great to see you.
Yes. Suri just chimed in the background there. That was hilarious. And Suri said that you're welcome. I'm great. Glad. Yeah, we'll see each other on Friday, and I appreciate it. Again, have a good week. Good, safe week. Stay safe.
I'm glad you have a digital friend there that is helping you social distance and keeping you company.
Yes, it was Afton Kofeld of Broken Top and Tom Schnell that were on my monitors just before you, so I'm having lots of company virtually, I guess, is what it is. So yeah, thanks again, Cheri, and we'll see you on Friday.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, man.
So yeah, Cheri Helt, and that is. Honestly, if I could do this all day, I would do this all day. But I have clients and people I need to do because this doesn't pay me. I'm doing this as a benefit for you guys in the community. I started this. I believe in this. I know that this is something that is valuable. And frankly, I want to know what you guys want. I was thinking about this. I don't know if there's anybody watching. Looks like there's a few people, but I want to know what kind of content you guys want. Who do you want me to interview? Who would you like to know? Who would you? I mean, the reality is, I probably could find people to interview. So let me know. Leave a comment on this. Send a message to me. Do whatever you can, because I'd love to provide some different content for you guys if I can. And that might be on the weekend. That might be at different times. Courtney, yeah, I know you'd like to work again. And, he just posted that he'd like to work again. But the reality is, I can't do anything about that. But I can interview people. So if you know somebody that you'd like me to interview, just for general knowledge, it's something that is important. Cheri mentioned earlier about the antibody test. We are actually working in conjunction with Combat COVID-19 Central Oregon on a series of health forums. And Thursdays is actually at, I think it's about noon. We're actually going to be talking about that very thing. And worked on a series of videos this morning with Tom Schnell and local banker from Umpqua, talking a little bit about what we need as business owners, and that'll be premiering this week as well. And I just am enjoying creating the content for you guys. So if there's something that I can do, some sort of content creation, you have seen from time to time product placement. I'm not. If you want to. I just got a text. It is at noon. So thank you. Thank you, Don, for texting me. It is noon. If somebody wants to sponsor the show, I'm going to put it out there that I'd be interested in a sponsorship. You can see there's definite product placement back here. Courtney and my coffee comes from a fantastic Bella Taza coffee. There's a couple of glass pigs back there. We won't talk about those. And then I Love Road. They are not a sponsor of the show. I can tell you that I have gotten no financial benefit. However, I've gotten good coffee from Stuart, and beautiful, amazing candles from Broken Top. But these are all just friends of mine that I have just sort of said, hey, would love it. And Stuart, is such a strong member of the community. He reached up and said, hey, let's, here you go. Here's your coffee. So get a bag of coffee every couple of weeks, and it's my fuel. So again, if you're interested, if you know somebody that's interested in supporting what I'm doing, if you have somebody you want me to interview, I'm game. I would love at the end of this to emerge such that I can do this on a more part-time, full-time basis and just have great quality programming, interview style programming, and then potentially build other programming for the community. Just a dream. And I think it can happen, but I'm going to need the community, my community, to help support. So again, thank you. I appreciate all of you today. And as always, you know what I'm about to say, so say it with me. Show up for Central Oregon.